All right, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is. I pray that you're poised to receive, to accept, and to respond to words of wisdom. Ashe. So earlier, I shared a real poignant lesson on the relationship between Orisa and personality types. And I was using the literary devices that are employed in the sacred text to help you understand the difference between your Orisha and your personality. And I gave you an assignment, and I hope you followed up on the assignment to look up those key literary devices. Metaphor, analogy, personification, and anthropomorphism, particularly. And if you understand those literary devices, then it will become more clear to you that Orisha is really here to encourage and facilitate your ability to take ownership of your spiritual reality and make the kinds of decisions that are informed by the eternal principles of life, right? So if I was talking to about a tree or a plant, or if I was referring to one Orisha or another, it's intended to put those patterns in front of you so that you can be a bit objective about seeing your own patterns and then make the decisions that are reflective of who you are. But we've made the mistake of saying that, oh, I am this Orisha. We've gotten carried away with the personification of the deities, and we over-identify with one Orisha or another. Now I want to amplify the conversation, take it a step further, and give you a psychological lens or psychological filter that will help you to get an even more clear understanding of your relationship to Orisha, all of which is intended to help you be a better, stronger decision maker. This is about self-empowerment. And this is about, ultimately, the stronger you are, the more powerful you are, the stronger Orisha will be, because you're going to be using Orisha the way it should be used. You'll be engaging with Orisha the way it's intended to be engaged. All right? So I want you to look up a couple of psychological terms and practices. One of them is accountability. I want you to look up what is the meaning of accountability. I want you to look up what is the definition of agency or self-agency in particular. What is self-agency? And thirdly, what is ownership? Not possession of objects, but as it pertains to your decision making and your behavior and the quality of your life, what is the meaning of ownership from a psychological perspective? Conversely, I want you to look up projection. I want you to look up transference, and I want you to look up avoidance, all from a psychological perspective. Projection, transference, and avoidance. What are these? And I'm emphasizing these particular attributes because this is my field. This is where I've put in my 10,000 hours, and I know my people. Okay, and having done my 10,000 hours, it's like Booker T. Washington. When you go and you read Up from Slavery, you're going to find how before Booker T. Washington started the Hampton Institute, before he started Tuskegee Institute, Booker T. Washington spent a considerable amount of time on a horse-drawn carriage traveling all throughout the South. And he met our people. He went and slept in their houses. He ate their food. He saw how their living conditions were. And he got a good big picture of the social psychology of African Americans at the turn of the century, during the Reconstruction, excuse me. And Based on that, he was able to put certain things in place and make certain assumptions that would account for the strengths and the weaknesses of our people. There were trends. There were real trends, right? And so he would talk about things like people wanting to study Latin and Greek, and they were neglecting a totally arable front yard. They had weeds growing up in their front yard, and they know how to work the land at an expert level, but they want to send their child to study Latin and Greek. They got an antique grandfather clock in the house, and nobody can tell time. You know, these are the kinds of trends in our mindset at that time. And so likewise, in this era, we have certain trends in our thinking, certain ways that we've been conditioned. And these aren't condemnations. These aren't, you know, I'm not making judgments against my people. I'm just saying that I've put in my 10,000 hours, and I've worked with my people coast to coast, you know, in a variety of different settings. And so I'm generally aware of the way we think, and more importantly, some of the habits in our thinking that prevent us from being able to make the most of life. Transference is a big problem for us. Something happened to you over here, and you never got a chance to deal with it. And so you transfer all of your angst and frustration and fear and anxiety about that situation onto someone else. Projection. You have this weakness, you got this flaw, you got this personal contradiction with this internal contradiction, and you don't want to face it, you don't want to acknowledge it, you don't want to accept it, and so you project it onto somebody else. You make it all about this other person. You know, avoidance. You just don't want to confront the reality. You just don't want to deal with the truth of the matter about, you know, who you are, what you're made of, what you've done, what you haven't done. And so you're avoiding. You don't want to have that you don't want to have that conflict with yourself. So you're avoiding. Okay. And so these are things that I want you to look them up, though. And I want you to look for traces. This is a little bit more difficult than the literary devices, but for some of the folks who are a bit more sophisticated, and maybe you've gone through a little bit of therapy, I want you to push yourself a little bit further and take this as far as you can in order to really ultimately take ownership of your life, because that is what Ordi is really about. And my emphasis on the importance of Ordi is largely based on my understanding that Ordi is the crucible of decision making. It's your decision making faculties that allow you to designate, you know, where you're going to position yourself and how you're going to use the resources at your disposal, right? And it is essentially your superpower, because it puts you right at the center of everything that happens and everything that doesn't happen. And the sooner you can take full ownership for your decision-making power, everything is going to start to skyrocket. The kinds of miracles that people are promising you through rituals and ceremonies, they're going to come to pass because you're going to approach those rituals and ceremonies with the right mindset, having done the right preliminary work. You're going to have all your resources in place, and you're going to be able to hear the messages and the directives, and you're going to be able to respond to them more realistically because you already have an internally driven point of reference for what you're trying to do, and you're not expecting miracles, right? And this is the line of thinking that I know is going to resonate with the leaders. So if you're someone who wants to improve the world through positive influence, I want you to find out how Oloye Obafemi Origunwa and the Orisa Lifestyle Academy can help you take your practice and your life to the highest level possible. Visit me at obafemio.com or orishalifestyle.com, and let's start working together to help you live the medicine that will heal your life and heal the lives of those who you're destined to serve. I look forward to working with you. Bye for now. Odabo.